Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be going over Anki for medical school. This is going to be everything you need, Anki 101 for using Anki in medical school. We're going to go top to bottom from using the app, downloading it, and the certain decks to use. Everything you need to get started will be in this video. I'm going to start up by opening a browser and just going to Googling Anki right here. Click this, download Anki. I have a Mac, the silicon ones. If you have an Intel chip here or Windows, this link right here. Download that, and we're going to open up this file. Bring that over. I have Anki on another user on my PC, so it's going to say this, but it shouldn't normally say that. All right, now we're all downloaded. I'm going to go to my apps here. And it's going to give me the open up the Anki window. We're going to say English. Yes. Let's go ahead and ignore this update since we have the most up-to-date version. Now we are in Anki here. First thing we need to do is set up an Anki web account. So you can do that by either going to the website, or if we just press this button sync, it's going to say an account is required. Please sign up. So I'm going to press this link. It's going to take me to Anki Web. I'm going to go ahead and make an account. I'll skip over this part in the video and I'll cut to after I've made the account, but go ahead and make an account here. All right, now that we're back, you should have hopefully made an Anki Web account. If you press Decks here, it should have this Anki Web. We don't need this for now, so we're going to zoom out. Then you're going to go back here and enter in your information. I'm going to do that now and I'll cut away. All right, we're now logged in on Anki with our user here. It's going to have this red sync button. Go ahead and ignore that for now. We'll get back to that. In Anki, you can have different users. You can see it has user 1 here. If you go to file right here, you can switch profiles or have different users on here. So I'll rename it. So my YouTube one, and then just hit open. So you can have different profiles on there, and that's all that means up top. It's whoever the user is, you can name that to wherever you want. Most people are just going to have one user anyway. Before we get started talking about decks and everything, I want to just go over some Anki preferences and some other things. If you go up to the top left right here under Anki, we're going to click this button Preferences. If you're on Windows, this is going to be under a different spot. If you're on Windows, that button's going to be under, I believe it's under Tools right here. But if you're on Mac, it's going to be under Anki Preferences. There's only a few things we need to do here. Most of this stuff you really don't need to mess with. This I'm pretty much going to keep the same. If you want, you can mess around with this. Review next day starts at. I like to have this at 4 a.m. Because I'm asleep at that time. This is when your next day is going to start in Anki, when your new cards are going to populate. If you're awake at 4 a.m. for whatever reason, if you work night shift or whatever, then change this basically to a time than when you're asleep, because this is when your Anki is going to reset every day. So I keep it at that. Learn ahead limit, I like keeping mine at 20 minutes. If you don't know what that is, it's okay. I keep it around this, 20 or 30 minutes, it's fine. Here you can also rebind some of your keys, which will make a little bit more sense later. Under editing, syncing, and backups, we don't need to do anything. Under third-party services, this is where our AnkiHub login is going to be in, which we are just about to get to. So I'm going to close out of this. And then before we get started here in Anki, let's go ahead and get the deck that we need to do. So I'm going to go over here. And kind of the deck that everybody uses in medical school is the Anking deck. Obviously there are other decks, but the big one is going to be the Anking deck, which to find the latest version, you're going to want to go to AnkiHub. So click that right there. And like I said, this is going to be the latest, most up-to-date version. However, you do have to pay for this service. Scroll down. Yeah, right here. So it's $6 a month, or you can pay for here's like the lifetime one. What I would recommend doing, I really think this deck is worth it. They update it every month. You probably don't need the updates every single month. So what I would just do, I would pay $6 one time, get all the decks, and then cancel this. You'll still have access to the deck. You just won't get monthly updates, but you'll still have the decks. So I would probably get this, pay the $6, and then maybe every 6 months or every year, pay the $6 again, update the deck because the updates that the team puts in are really good. I personally have the lifetime plan, but I understand it is a lot of money. So I think if you're trying to save money, that's your best bet. Additionally, there are other decks that you can use. If you go over to Medical School Anki, that's r/Medical School Anki. There's a bunch of other decks that people have. If you go on the subreddit, if you scroll down on the sidebar here, there's a bunch of other decks right here, including the previous version of Anking, Anking V11, which is still free. I do think the most up-to-date one is worth it though, but there's lots of other decks on here and other things. So anyway, let's say if you have decided to get the Anking deck, go ahead and click sign up. And I've already made my login, so I'm going to skip to the end, but go ahead and click sign up and get logged in. It's going to take us to this page right here. Before we continue on here, let's minimize this and go back to Anki here. Let's now get signed into our AnkiHub account on Anki. If you're not using the AnkiHub deck, don't worry about this step. So again, go back up to Anki, Preferences, Third-Party Services, log in with AnkiHub, and it's going to ask for your username. All right, so I've logged in. It's going to say, please restart Anki to apply these changes now that I'm logged in with my AnkiHub. So I'm going to exit out. While we're on this topic, it's going to ask, oh, do you want to upload or download from AnkiWeb? This is going to happen anytime you really change your settings or get started with Anki on a new device. In this instance here, I'm going to hit download. It's not going to matter too much because we don't have any cards. However, usually you want to send it, for example, let's say you get Anki on your phone for the first time, you'd want to hit download from AnkiWeb because you'd want all your cards. Or let's say I had a bunch of cards already on here and then I made my Anki account, I would want to hit upload to AnkiWeb. For the most part, this doesn't appear too much, so you don't have to worry about it too much. All right, and then we'll restart Anki here. Okay, so now we're all logged in with AnkiHub as well as our AnkiNet account. So we've made all our accounts and everything. Back over to the browser here. If we scroll down under this Explore page, you can see we have access to lots of different decks now. The famous one being the Anking Step deck, but you have a lot of other ones. The MCAT deck, I love this deck, the USMLE Lab Values. That one's great. So there's lots of different stuff. If you press this button here, subscribe. Are you sure you want to subscribe to this deck? Yes, subscribe. So you're now subscribed to this deck. Perfect. And they got some, here's like the latest updates as well as some instructions on here. And it should have it right here. Now if we go back to Anki and I hit this sync button right here, so you have new AnkiHub decks to install. And you can keep this check, use recommended deck settings. Install. Now this is going to take a while because this deck is rather large, so go and give it some time. In the meantime, I want to just point out, like I said, if you do want to use a different deck, I'll just pick one at random here. Umish Cadaver deck. This is an anatomy deck. Here's the link to download. Hit download. Download anyway. I'm just showing you this in case there's other decks you want to install. Oh, and Anki is ready too. Saying these following decks are ready to study. Hit OK. So like I was saying, if you're not on AnkiHub, so we just download a deck, what you would do is just hit import file right here. Downloads. And Anki files are always going to be these APKG packages. I'm going to hit open, import. And those are the different ways you'd get decks. So again, that's either using subscribing on AnkiHub, which you have to pay for, or if you're not paying for, that's all you do. Just download the deck, hit import, hit your APKG file, and it'll be right there. There's our deck right there. All right, so now we can actually get into our Anki settings here. And just because I like to clean stuff up, I'm not going to use this deck right now, so I'm going to delete this. And then here's the getting started with Anki. This also has some further instructions by the Anking team. I'm not going to look at it, but I do want to take this time to plug his YouTube channel, the Anking YouTube channel. If you really want some in-depth explanations and you really want to know all the things, the nitty-gritty of Anki, and you just want more explanation than what I'm providing in this video, definitely check out his channel. It's a great topic. It's going to say, do I want to unsubscribe? Yes. Okay, so now we have our Anking step deck right here. Let's start by getting into the settings. So I'm going to click the settings wheel right here, and I'm going to go to options, our deck settings here. Up at the top here, you can see what settings you're using. So normally it'll say default, or if you have AnkiHub, it'll say AnkiHub or Anking right here. These are the different presets you can use. So if you have different decks, you can have those decks on different settings with your presets. So for example, I also have decks for Spanish and Russian. So I have those decks at different settings than I do my medical school deck. So to see that, click this button here, you can add a preset, rename presets, whatever you want to do to change your settings. For now, we'll just stick with this AnkiHub one because this has pretty much almost exactly the settings that I use and recommend. Under the daily limits here, we want both of these at 9999. This is just going to mean it's going to show us all the cards that we want to see. And if some of these don't make sense right now, that's okay. As you go along and do Anki, you'll learn. I'm going to ignore these for now. New cards and lapses, I keep both of these at about 15 minutes. Leech threshold, this is how many times you have to hit the again button for Anki will tag a card and be like, hey, you don't know this, you should look at it again. I like to up this to like 8 or something. You can change it to whatever you want. Display order, this is mostly personal preference of how the cards are going to be shown to you and what order. I pretty much stick with these settings. I always like seeing my new cards after my reviews, but again, this is all personal preference. Change it however you want. FSRS, this is Anki's new algorithm, or relatively new, starting last year. If you want a really in-depth explanation of what FSRS is, go to the Anking's channel. He's got a great video talking about this. For now, though, all you need to know is set this number at about 90%. That's what I keep it as. That's your desired retention. If you want to remember more, you can up it, but it will increase the load quite a bit. It'll say like a 100-day interval will become 46 days. Or if you're getting too many cards, you can lower it to 85%, something like that. And I'll say 100-day interval will now become 164 days. So I think 90 is a pretty good place. Now FSRS actually learns from your Anki usage, and so I haven't done any cards yet, so it's just going to use the default parameters. But about once a month or so, after you've actually done some cards, it's recommended to hit this optimize button once, and that's going to change it. It's going to personalize your Anki algorithm to you. I'm not going to hit it yet because I haven't done any cards, but again, after about a month or two of using it, you can hit that. Scrolling back up here to the right side, burying, we're going to have all these turned on. Cards that are of the same note but different card, meaning the flashcard is the same, but it might swap out the different part that's blank that you need to answer. This will just make it so it doesn't show you all of those on the same day. Basically, you're not seeing all the cards, the same card on the same day. Audio timers and auto advance, I don't mess with those. Easy days, this is ways to reduce your card load on certain days. For example, if you want to reduce your load on Sundays, you can set this to minimum. Now, this isn't a magic button. This doesn't mean you don't do Anki, and it doesn't just make all your cards disappear to other days. It just means the algorithm will prioritize putting cards on these days, which subsequently these days will have a little more cards in order to make so you have less on Sunday. So I just keep all of them at normal. And advanced, I just have my max interval set at this, which is 5 years. After you're done doing all that, we're just going to hit save. And now our settings are saved. Okay, so now we have our deck, we have our settings. Before we get into actually how to use Anki and how to use this deck, I want to just cover some of Anki's other features real quick, starting with these buttons up here and down here. The decks, this just brings you back to the home page. Add up here and create deck. These are going to be if you want to make your own cards or make your own deck, which can be a great tool. So if we hit create deck right here, and let's just say you do missed you world questions or something along that line, right? You want to make a deck on the questions you missed. And then you'd hit add right here. It's going to ask you what deck do you want it added to. I'm going to say right here. It's going to ask you to choose your card type. There's going to be a lot. I'm just going to stick with basic for now, just front and back. And, you can say, what is the treatment for Bartonella? You can say Doxy or something. And then hit add. And now you've made your own card right here. So again, that's the add and the create deck. We've already talked about the import file. That's how to get a deck. And the get shared, I don't really use this one. Browse, we're going to skip over this for just a minute. Going over to stats, this is going to look at the stats for our cards. Now, obviously, I haven't done any cards, so nothing's going to be here, but this is a great way to track your progress and look to see how many cards you're doing. It's going to show you different cards from all the different categories. It's going to show you your card difficulty. It's going to have your retention here. This is just a great tool to use. And then sync we've already talked about. Sync kind of serves two purposes. One, to save your progress by uploading cards to AnkiWeb. So every time you open or close the app or press sync, it's going to sync to AnkiWeb. Again, that's to save your progress. And it's going to make it so if you're doing Anki on other devices like an iPad or a phone, that way your progress transfers over. So every time you do that, your progress will switch over to that device and everything will be saved. Actually, how to use this deck and how to use Anki. I'm just going to delete this. Oops. Delete this deck here. You can see you can also export it and rename your decks here. Let me just delete that one. Okay, let's go and hit the browse button here. And I'm going to make this full screen. So you can see over on the left here, we have a lot of options. Most of this stuff I just like to collapse right here. And so here under decks, we can see here's our deck, the Anking step deck. And you should have, the number will vary depending on like the update, but for the most part around 35,000 cards. If you're seeing less cards here, it might just mean you have this notes selection right here. If it's notes is under here, it'll have 28,000 versus if you go to cards, 35,000. Now the deck is organized by tags, not under decks here. So if you open this up right here, this little caret, there's not going to be any organization here. All the organization is under tags. So to start, we want to make sure all our cards are suspended at first. Now what that means is the cards are not currently in rotation in our Anki. And so these cards are already all suspended, but just in case they're not, I want to show you how to do it. So go ahead and click any card, and then on Mac, you're going to hit Command A, or on Windows, Control A. It's going to select all your cards. You're going to right click, and this toggle suspend. You can see this is already checked here. If I uncheck it, you can see the color and the parentheses goes away. These cards are now unsuspended. And you can see now if we go back to our main page here, these are all unlocked. So we don't want that for now. So I'm going to resuspend them. So Command A, right click, and toggle suspend. All our cards are now suspended. You can see it says 0 right here. So let's get into these tags here. So if we go down to tags, if you're studying for step 1, which I currently am, you're going to want to go to this tag here. There's also step 2 and step 3. You open this little caret and you're met with a bunch of the different third-party resources. You can see Boards of Beyond is here, First Aid is here, Pathoma, Sketchy, Bootcamp, they're all here, right? So really the best way to utilize this deck is to use these third-party resources. And again, I wouldn't say there's a best one. Everybody uses different ones. Me personally, I like to use Boards of Beyond, Pathoma, and Sketchy Micro and Sketchy Farm. So let's go to Boards of Beyond here. I'm going to press this little caret. Here's all the different chapters for Boards of Beyond. So let's say you're doing your lecture in cardiology. So you can go over here, open this first folder, Anatomy and Phys, and here's all the different, each of these tags corresponds with a video from a third-party resource, in this case, the Boards of Beyond video, this like on cardiac anatomy. So in order to properly do this, you would go and watch the Boards of Beyond video on cardiac anatomy, and then you would do these cards. Similarly, like if you're, I'll collapse this, if you're doing boot camp and you just did a biochem lecture on cell trafficking under the cell biology, and you can see actually if I go to this card, one of the great things about Anki or AnkiHub and this deck is they actually have, you can hit boot camp right here, and it'll say watch associated boot camp video. So you watch that video, and then let's say you want to now do these cards, right? So you can highlight all of them, or if you don't want to do all of them, you can select the ones you want. Let's just say we want to do all of them. Hit Command A, right click, toggle suspend. You can see the color changes and the parentheses around new has gone away. These cards are now in our rotation right here. And so that's the basics of how you're going to do your cards in Anki, is you're going to find some sort of topic that you want to study, look at what the third-party resource is, and then unsuspend the cards. Now, for me personally, once I unsuspend cards, I almost never resuspend them. I keep them in the circulation, and I keep doing them. And again, this is going to be the same for all the third-party resources. So Sketchy Micro, Sketchy Farm, Pathoma, First Aid. And again, the reason we're doing this whole suspending, unsuspending thing is to control the cards that we want to see. So we're starting out, all the cards are suspended, meaning we don't see any of them. Then as you go through your lectures, as you go through your blocks in medical school, you'll unsuspend certain topics that you want to learn and do an Anki. And again, I really almost never resuspend things. I like keeping stuff in rotation even after blocks are done, because I'm studying for step 1, right? So again, you're controlling the cards that you do using this button, suspend and unsuspend. Now, before we get on to actually moving Anki, I do want to point out one tag that I think is particularly useful. If you go down here to the other section right here, under high yield, you can open this and you can see 26,000 cards. So most of the step 1, as you can see in the step 1 tag, there's 31,000 cards under step 1 here. Now, 26,000 or 30,000 cards, that's a lot of cards. And maybe not all of them are necessarily super useful for step 1. You can see here the Anking team has organized these relative to yield. So you can see these ones like low yield and lower yield. So there's about 7 or 8,000. Not super worth doing. These like higher yields, and especially this high yield tag, I think is much more worth your time. And so this is a great way to find the ones that you want to actually do. One thing that I personally do is these high yield ones. I hit Command All. Or Command A, Control A, right click, flag, and I flag them green. Now all these cards show up green for me. And so when I'm going through, and let's say I watch a Boards Beyond video, I'll open this up. Let's say I'm doing that cardio one, and I'm like, okay, what is the high yield stuff here? Well, I can see here's these ones in green that are high yield. Okay, well, I should really know those. And same thing, you can like if you want to tag the low yield ones red, or tag these ones green too as well, you can do that. But I just think that's useful, for then you can be like, okay, I don't really need to know this one super well, but I do need to know this one. And you can see all these tags, all the cards have all these different tags, and you can see they're all tagged by their third-party resource here, as well as you can see this one is high yield right there. And additionally, here's all the other information for a card. Okay, so now let's get into actually doing some Anki. So like I said, we unsuspended our first boot camp lesson right here. And so I can exit out of these. We're going to go back to our main page here, make our window a little bigger. And we can click our Anking step deck. We can see it shows how many new learning and review cards we have. Those numbers make sense in a second. The reason it says +6 here is because, remember, we buried those similar cards so that we wouldn't see them on the same day. So it's basically saying you have 12 cards now, these 6 will pop up in a day or two. I'm going to hit study now. It's going to say what part of the cell is in the synthesis of secretory proteins. To see the back of a card, we're just going to hit spacebar, just like this. And then we have a few different choices. If you look down at the bottom here, we can see these buttons, again, hard, good, and easy. And each of them have a time interval above them. You can see the again one is going to show it to us almost immediately, less than 15 minutes. Hard, 23 minutes, good, 2 days, and easy, 14 days. And so based on how this card was for you, you're going to pick an answer. Now, what I like to tell people is think of the again button like you didn't know the card, and think of the good button like you did know the card. I would say for the most part, 95% of your answers, you should be hitting again or good. Hard and easy, they can be useful, and I do use them, but probably less than 5% of the time, if that. I really stay away from them as much as I can. I really just, again, hit again. If I don't know it, good. If I do know it. And rarely do I use hard or easy. Especially some people have been running into the problem where they don't know it, but they don't want to hit again. So they hit hard, which you really don't want to be doing, because that's telling Anki, oh, I did know it. It was just a little hard, which is not true. If you don't know it, you want to hit again here. And these intervals are going to change too. So if I hit good on this card, I'm going to see it again in 2 days. Once I see it again, let's say I remember it again, then the interval might be, let's say, 5 days or so. And then and 5 days later, then it might be, 15 days or something like that. The intervals change based on the Anki algorithm. Or then if let's say in 2 weeks, I forget the card, I hit again, well, then it's going to start showing it to me more often, right? And so that's the beauty of Anki. It works on this principle of spaced repetition, where it's spacing out the cards, but it's never letting you forget, or at least that's what it's trying to do. As long as, and this is very, very important, you do your cards every single day. That's what I always tell people. Do all your review cards every single day, no matter what. If you really want Anki to do its magic, that's what you got to do. So getting back into our card here, right? Let's say we did know this, and the really nice thing about Anki too is you can see the team has added these third-party resources down here. They've tagged it with sketchy info. If you press that, the boards or the bootcamp video. So let's say I did know this card. I'm gonna hit good. We get to our next card. I'm gonna hit the spacebar again for our intervals here at the bottom. So spacebar reveals the answer to the card. If you hit spacebar again, that's gonna select the good button. Basically, spacebar is synonymous with good, essentially. The other thing you can do is use the number keys 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is going to be associated with again, 2 is going to be hard, 3 is going to be good, and 4 is going to be easy. So like I said, I basically only use again and good, so my fingers pretty much just hit the space bar for good or hit 1 for again, and that's how you're going to control this. Let's say I don't know this card, I'm going to hit again for this one. We get to this card, and this is what's called a close deletion card, meaning there's some sort of blank in here. It's not your traditional front-back flashcard. There's a fill in the blank here. And so when I hit spacebar, it's going to fill in the answer here. And again, same thing. I'm going to hit, let's say I hit again. I'll just go through and I'll hit a few of these. Okay, I'm going to go back to decks here, and you can see the cards that I hit again of have moved to this learn category, and they're in red, so they're no longer new. So anytime you unsuspend cards and you've never done them, they're going to be in this new blue category, new. And you really control the amount of new cards you do by unsuspending. Learn and do cards, on the other hand, learn are going to be the ones where I've pressed again that I need to learn those, right? And then you can see currently we have nothing in this do pile here. When you do have something, these are going to be green. These are your do cards or your review cards. And so if we showed up tomorrow, the cards that we hit good on or that we eventually learned are going to be in this do category right here. And those are really all the cards you want to make sure you do every single day. And in this learn and do pile, especially the do pile, we don't control how many cards are in here. That's going to be Anki's doing. Anki's going to assign based on these time intervals right here. So in 3 days, if I hit good, let me hit good, that card will show up in our do pile right here. Now, I always warn new users at first, you don't want to go crazy and do a ton of new cards at first, because this is going to start snowballing. You add, let's say I do something crazy like I add in 500 new cards. Well, those are going to be shown to me again throughout the week. So let's say I do 500 the next day and the next day. Well, pretty soon I'm going to be getting a lot of cards. So I really recommend to new users to stick between 50 to no more than 100 new cards a day to keep this a manageable amount. But again, this is total personal preference and to each their own. So that's it. That's how you do Anki. You're going to go and find the cards that you want to do. They're going to land right here, and then you're just going to go through them one by one every single day. Before we wrap up here, I want to bring attention to one other thing, something called add-ons, which sort of enhance the functionality of Anki. If you go up here to the Tools button and press Add-ons right here, it'll bring up this window. And like I said, this is going to improve Anki in certain ways. If you press Get Add-ons right here, it's going to want this code right here. It's going to prompt this code. There's also some other options here. There's not a whole lot of add-ons that you absolutely need. However, there is some that I think are helpful, but I included, I have this document that I have a few helpful links, and I'll include all the links necessary in the description. The review heat map add-on is a really popular add-on, as well as one that I think every medical student should have if you have Amboss, and that's the Amboss add-on. Extremely helpful add-on. You can see I've also included a remote or an add-on to add an Anki remote, which I know a lot of people like to do and is very popular. And so if we go back here, press Get Add-ons, paste in my code there. And again, Get Add-ons. And then they'll pop up right here. And it's going to say we have to restart Anki, so we'll do that. And once again, everything will be included in the description, the links to everything I've used, as well as I'll include this little document, which just has some more helpful links that you guys might find helpful. All right, and I've restarted Anki here. You can see the Amboss add-on has come up. You need to have an Amboss login, or I can continue with free trial. And so here at the bottom, we can see our heat map add-on. This is just, it gives you an Anki streak, which I really like, and it helps track your cards. The Amboss add-on is super helpful, because if we go back into browse here, you can highlight cards and you can actually start an Amboss QBank session based on the cards that you've highlighted. So that's super helpful. Additionally, every single card is tagged by an Amboss question. So what you can do, I can't do it here because I don't have my Amboss subscription active, is when you start a question bank on Amboss, it'll prompt you, it'll say, get Anki cards from these questions, and then you can go into browse here. So you just highlight this the search bar, you'll paste in whatever you want, or you can paste in, certain, you can paste, there's a search function, so you can search things as well too. And then you can get the corresponding Anki cards. But that is it. That is everything. I hope that video was super helpful. Go ahead and drop some questions in the comments if you have any. I'm going to try to be more responsive on these videos and try to make some more stuff. Take home point is just do your Anki cards every single day. Be consistent with it. Consistency trumps everything else. Thank you for watching.